Hi guys, how are you doing? This is Luis Simancas, and as I promised you in our last class, here I am making this video to give you some extra practice so that you can, practice your listening and your speaking abilities. So it's gonna be a little difficult for me because it was hard to find the right questions for this topic. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you some key main questions from unit number 7 and unit number 8. The most important questions, the most important topics, the most important vocabularies for unit number 7 and unit number 8. I'm gonna get all of the questions from the book, you see, from the book that we are using. So it's gonna be like a short review, right? The idea is that you get used to the questions and that you can practice how to answer the question, not like learn the answers by heart, like memorizarlas y decirlas de memoria. The idea is to sound more natural and be more casual, to get some practice. So try to give as much information as possible. Don't simply say yes I do, no I don't, or stuff like that. Try to speak more, to give as much information as possible, right? So the first question is, we're going to talk about who is in your circle of friends, all right? Who is your best friend, for example? Who is your best friend? Okay, and then after the questions, I'm going to answer the question myself with my own information. That's exactly what I want you to do, to answer the question with your own information. But I'm going to do it with my information to give you an example of how to answer the questions, right? Just an example. So, who is your best friend? Well, my best friend is, let me see, Juan Manuel. He's someone I met 8 years ago. He lives in another neighborhood like 15 minutes away from my house. At that time, we were both studying English and we became best friends ever since. So my best friend is Juan Manuel. He's someone I met 8 years ago. He lives in another neighborhood that is like 15 minutes away from my house. We are very similar. We are very similar in a way that we both like English. He's studying English. I'm studying English. He loves teaching English. I love teaching English. So we are pretty similar in that sense. Let me see another question. Do you have any friends that you met through other friends? Do you have any friends that you met through other friends? Well, I have a friend who I met, I have a friend that I met through my wife, okay? His name is Omar. He's someone I met through my wife like 2 years ago, all right? Do you keep in touch with any of your friends you grew up with? Do you keep in touch? See, all of the questions are right here in the book, you see? Same question we learned throughout the units. Do you keep in touch with any of the friends you grew up with? Well, yes, I do. I grew up with a friend called Roger, and we still keep in touch through Messenger, through Facebook, sometimes through phone calls, or sometimes he just drops by my house or I go over to visit him. So even though we, have like a long relation, like an old relation, we still keep in touch, through calls, through emails, or we visit each other sometimes, all right? Do you have any friends who have exciting lives? Explain. Do you have any friend who have exciting lives? Exciting lives. Explain. Well, let me see. Do I have any friend who have an exciting life? Well, that's a pretty difficult question, Let me remember. Well, actually, yes, I do. I have a friend who is a parachuter. He practices parachuting. He's a parachuting instructor. So I think, he's someone who has an exciting life. I love parachuting. I wish I ever, practice parachuting in the future. I don't know, because that's something I've ever wanted to do. So yeah, he's someone who has, I know, who has an exciting life. So another question could be, do you have friends you chat with online? Where do they live? Do you have friends you chat with online? Where do they live? Well, yes, actually, I do have some friends I chat with online. I have a couple of friends who live in the United States. Another of my friends, some of my other friends live in Brazil, Spain, Argentina. Some of them live right here in Colombia, but in different cities like Bogota, Cali, and Medellin. And I chat with them like pretty regularly, like once or twice a week. All right. Do you have any friends who are very different from you? That's a pretty important question. Do you have any friends who are different from you? How are they different from you? Do you have any friends who are different from you? How are they different from you? Let me see. Well, actually, I do have some friends who are different from me. For example, Pedro. Pedro is a friend of mine who is very different from me. I mean, I'm a very friendly person. He's not. He doesn't like to make friends. I'm easygoing. He's different from me because he's kind of like shy, timid. I love making friends. He doesn't. I love to learn languages. He doesn't like to learn languages. So he's someone who is very different from me, or he's someone that is very different from me. Okay. Now, do you think it's okay to go out with more than one person at the same time? Do you think it's okay to go out, to date, to go out, to have a relationship with someone who, with a person, with some, do you think it's okay to go out with more than one person at the same time? Well, actually, I don't think it's okay to go out with a person to I don't think it's okay to go out with more than one person at the same time. Because when you have a relationship, you're supposed to be loyal, to be like to stick to the person, right? You're not supposed to cheat on that person. So I don't think it's okay for a person to go out with more than one girlfriend or boyfriend at the same time. I think that's not normal. I mean, that's that will hurt the other person. That'll cause a huge damage to the other person, a huge, like a pretty uncomfortable situation for the other person. So I definitely think that it's not good for a person to go out with more than one girlfriend or boyfriend at a time. Now, what should you do if what should you do if you are not getting along with your boyfriend or girlfriend? What should you do if you're not getting along with your boyfriend or girlfriend? Getting along, remember, means you're not having a good relationship with. What should you do if you're not getting along with your boyfriend or girlfriend? Well, if I'm not getting along with my girlfriend, I think I should talk to her about our problems. We should, sit down and share our ideas and be honest and say to each other what we think about the relationship and decide if it is worth keep on with the relationship. I think it would be a good idea to learn what's going on with her. Maybe she's not satisfied with something. Maybe I'm doing something that she doesn't like it, and that's why she's behaving like that. So I think the best thing to do is to sit down and discuss about the situation. That's what we should do in a situation like that, to sit down and discuss about what's going on, to looking forward to improve or get along better in the relationship. Now, do you think long distance relationships can work out? Do you think long distance relationship can work out? That's a good question, eh? Like online relationships. Well, on one hand, for example, if you have a husband or a wife, and because of his or her job, that person has to move to a different city, it's okay. It's okay to keep on with a relationship like that, because that's your husband, that's your wife. You're not supposed to break up with them just because they move away because of their job. But if you, I mean, in that situation, that kind of that kind of long distance relationship can definitely work out because you know you already know each other, you've had a previous relationship with each other. But if you met someone from let's say from a different city, a different country, someone you would definitely you you probably will never meet in person, I think that kind of relationship would never work out because you know it's hard to keep on a relationship with someone you can meet in person. So I don't think in that situation I don't think a long distance relationship can work out. That's my opinion. Um, is it okay to go out with someone who is a lot older or younger than you? Is it okay to go out with someone who is younger or a lot older than you, say 15 years younger or 15 years older than you? Well, I don't think that it is okay to go out with someone that is a lot older or younger than me, because when your partner has that kind of, I mean, your age is that different. Usually you have different tastes. You want to do things that are different from each other. For example, when you're the younger person in the relationship, you usually want to go out more often. You want to do things that are fun, and then the other person prefers to stay home or do some things that are boring. So that kind of things, that kind of ways to think will bring problems to the relationship. So I don't think it's okay to go out with someone who is a lot older or younger than me. That's definitely not okay. What's a good age to settle down? What's a good age to settle down? Do you think people should settle down at 16, 17, 18, 20? What's a good age to settle down? Well, in my opinion, I personally believe that a good age to settle down is any age after you have already graduated from college and had started your career. Some people graduate from college when they are 22, 23, and they start a career, they start working, making money. They could settle down. It could be at 21, 22, 20, 24, 25. But I think the best age to settle down is right after you are able to support yourself, to support your own family, to get, you know, the money. Because if you are, for example, 22, 23, 24, and if you have a good job, it's okay to settle down. But if you are 25 and you have no job, you have no profession or stuff like that, I mean, it wouldn't be good to settle down with someone else because, you know, you're going to have problems money-wise. It could be any age between 23, 24 to 30. That's the best age to settle down, between 24 and 30 years old. All right. By the way, that's only my opinion. You can have a different opinion too. What's the best way to break up with someone? What's the best way to break up with someone? Well, I think the best way to break up with someone is saying that personally. Some people prefer to do it on the phone, by email or stuff like that. But I think the best way to break up with someone is sitting down and being honest and tell the other person what we are feeling, the reason why we made that decision, and you know, just keep it real. So just talk to the other person, be honest, and keep it real. That's the best way to break up with someone. Not like making excuses or stuff like that. Keep it real, be honest, and say the truth, you know, what you're feeling. Okay, now let's go to the back of the book, to the free talk number 7. What is important? What's important? We have some good questions here. So, who has a good sense of humor? Do you know anyone who has a good sense of humor in your family, at school, or neighborhood? Well, I have a friend called Efrain who has a great sense of humor. Okay, notice how I use who and that. I have a friend called Efrain who has a great sense of humor. He's always smiling, telling jokes, like teasing people. He's someone who has a great sense of humor, all right? Okay. Do you know someone who comes from your similar family background? Do you know someone who comes from your similar family background? Well, most of the people I know come from from a background similar to mine. I mean, they grew up with their parents, they went to public schools, they have like nuclear families, like small families. They grew up with their parents and their brothers and sisters and stuff like that. So I know many people who come from a similar family background as mine. All right. Now, do you know someone who is really good looking? Do you know someone who is really good looking? Of course, of course. Well, if we talk about women, yeah, I know a few of them who are really good looking, and of course I have some male friends who are also good looking, like Gustavo, for example. He's someone I know who is really good looking, really good looking. Okay. Do you know someone who has your same interest? Do you know someone who has your same interest? Yes, I do. Actually, I know a guy called Snyder who has my same interest. I mean, he's studying tourism, he's studying English, he wants to speak fluent English, he likes dealing with people, he's extrovert, he likes basketball. So he's someone who has my same interest. Do you know someone you can trust? Do you know someone you can trust? ¿Conoces a alguien en quien puedas confiar? Of course, my wife. My wife is someone who I can trust. She's very loyal. She never lies to me, so she never tells secrets. So she's someone I can trust, definitely. Do you know someone who is kind and generous? Do you know someone who is kind and generous? Yes, my grandpa. My grandfather, he's someone who is really kind and generous. I mean, he's always like helping people. He's always treating people in a kindly way. He's always friendly to everyone. So my grandpa is someone who is really kind and generous. Do you know someone who has a good job? Yes. Actually, I have a couple of friends who have a really good job. Like, for example, my friend Wilfred. He works for an international company. He's making like 4 million a month, and he only works like 5 days a week. So Wilfred is definitely someone I know who has a really good job. Do you know someone who has a lot of money? Well, not personally, but I do know for like famous people like Bill Gates or the Alule families. Those people are people who have definitely a lot of money, All right. What else? So, how do you stay in touch with your friends who don't live here? How do you stay in touch with your friends who don't live here in Cartagena? I mean, do you keep in touch, stay in touch with them via email, phone calls, or Facebook? How do you stay in touch with people or friends who do not live here in Cartagena? Well, I actually stay in touch with them on Facebook, phone calls, basically on over the internet. That's it. Okay.